Well, hello there, Scott Spann here from my sailboat office in Sausalito, California. This is another in a series of short videos I'm doing in a space I'm choosing to call Effortless Leadership. And I'm calling it that not because and you're going to hear me say this again and again, not because I'm an idealist. I've been a CEO and a COO, and I've worked in several businesses and led several businesses. And I find it a pragmatic imperative to learn how to lead organizations, teams, even whole networks in ways that are relatively effortless. And I find that you can do that if you align yourself with what it means to be fully human and what other people are trying to do at work, what their natural impulses and instincts are, their innate talents and abilities are. And if you're aware of how systems work, and if you're thinking systemically about these things. So if you combine those two things, you find that it's much, much easier to lead businesses, to understand complexity, to identify leverage, and to get whole organizations aligned in the right direction to solve a really complex problem. So this one is a bit of a higher level story than some of the others I've told so far in this series. This is a much larger organization, about a 120 person organization. It was a tech company in Berkeley at the time. And it's about organizational alignment and leverage. And there was a particular question we were trying to explore, and that question was, why are we struggling to grow our business? There was just a lot of strife, a lot of late nights, a lot of conflict in the organization, and it wasn't growing at a rate that worked for people. It wasn't effortless. And so the first place we went to was to look at, well, do we have a shared understanding of the system of the business that we're trying to develop? And it turned out that there wasn't. When you talked to the head of product development, they had one perspective. When you talked to the head of business development, they had another. Marketing, finance, the CEO, just take your pick. And they were all looking at it slightly differently, had their own different takes on it. So we sat down, and I'm not going to walk you through this whole thing. I'll give you a couple of close-ups on this. But I went in and I interviewed each of the key players and asked them what were they trying to cause and what do they need in order to be successful. And then took all of that input and formulated a view of the organization that everyone in the organization agreed, yes, this is what we're trying to create. And once we had that shared view, then we could begin to talk about, so then how do we intervene in this causal structure, this system, in a way that actually produces the reality that we're seeking. I'll give you a bit of a close-up here. We were able to take the different perspectives of CEO, COO, CTO, and so forth, and map those out and color-code it so we could all see this is exactly what each of us is thinking about and how each of us are thinking. We began to see things like how we were thinking about switching costs, that if we could become the platform in this space and get people adopting this platform, then adopting our platform would make switching costs much more expensive and would keep our base user network strong. Those kind of things we were able to see in this and come to agreement about that. We were also able to understand the importance of developing quality enterprise channel partners, that those channel partners, for example, we partnered with them to develop compelling services and product opportunities. And that then gave us a solutions library that we were then able to use to then go attract new channel partners. Now, the problem was, and what this really called out to us, was that our sales and marketing people were in such a hurry to get new clients that they were taking on clients that didn't have the kind of quality technical staffs that we needed to help us craft a good solutions library. And we ended up having to spend far more time with their IT people producing a lower quality solutions library, which meant we weren't then able to develop compelling service and product opportunities to then get us more channel partners. So we got caught in this really nasty downward kind of a spiral with that, but it helped us see that much, much more clearly. I'm not going to go into any more detail than that, but what we were also able to do once we had crafted what our business ecosystem looked like was we were able to actually run a piece of software against this. So this is a thing called cross-impact matrix analysis. It's a piece of software that the intelligence services use to identify nodes of high opportunity and networks of great uncertainty. And it gives you a sense in this bottom right-hand corner down here of where your strongest leverage points were in the system. So, and this probably makes good common sense to you, and it should. It shouldn't be something that's completely surprising. But understanding needs, understanding context, the product understanding the market, how to market, sales engineering capability. But this other one, this knowledge transfer, training, and consulting ability, was one that surprised us a little bit. We didn't really expect that one to pop up, but it made good sense when we thought it through. And you want to confirm this when you run one of these things with your own common sense. But that really fit in with that notion that we were trying to create these solutions libraries that then gave us a leg up when we went to the next set of customers that we were going for. The other thing we looked at were some system archetypes, and I'll just cover one of them here. There were many more analyses we did. I'm just giving you a sort of a smattering of them right now. So let me walk you through this really, really quickly here. There was a need for people to adopt a platform, and the fundamental solution for that is to develop a compelling solution, and that decreases the need for platform adoption. You've addressed that need. It begins to go down because you got one. Well, the quick fix on that was we had a CEO, when the platform wasn't available on time, would go out and raise the size of the expectations. And that would get us more critical partners that would come in, sign on, invest. And the idea was that as those critical partners came online, then the need for platform adoption on our part would go down because we had the people we needed. Well, the problem with that was that as the size of the expectations grew, the solutions complexity grew with that. As that grew, the ability to deliver the compelling product on time, at scale, got damaged. The sales engineering capability relative to the promise got damaged, and the knowledge transfer, training, and consulting ability got damaged because there was more knowledge to transfer and train around. And all of that then damaged our ability to create a compelling solution. And then that pushed the platform adoption out farther, which meant we had to make bigger promises next time around, our CEO would, and so forth. So we got into this problem where we were overrunning our ability to deliver. And the solution was to closely coordinate between the promise making and the solutions development arms of the organization, sort of pairing them at the hip, which was something that wasn't happening. There was another analysis we did that we found really, really useful here. And this again comes from understanding this as a system and looking at it as a system. Let me just give you a quick orientation of this. And you may find this a useful tool to use on your own once you learn how to think in this way. So what we have here are the different, in this stakeholder alignment worksheet, we have the different stakeholders here: the CEO, biz dev, product development, marketing, and finance. Those were sort of the key members of the leadership team. And so we just set up a matrix. And then this diagonal center line, we put what's the objective that they're trying to accomplish and what's the biggest problem they have in accomplishing that. And then for the CEO, what does the CEO believe they're supplying to business development? And as a client of business development, what do they expect to get in return? And we just do that all the way through product development, marketing, and finance. So let me just point out a couple of the conflicts here, and that's what these red arrows indicate, were the conflicts in expectations and needs between and among the different players in just this small team. So if I look at product development, for example, you'll see that in product development, the CEO consistently believed that they're providing vision, leadership, and defining the culture for the organization. And that's what they were supplying to product development, they said. Well, what product development was looking for from a CEO was a stable promise. And that was what they were most lacking. And the CEO was completely unaware of that as their request at the time. Let me pick another one here. In the domain of finance, for example, the CFO believed that what they were supposed to supply to the organization was cash flow, because you got to be able to operate, and economic value add. That is, I have to get to cash flow in a way that increases the economic value of the enterprise. What the CEO was looking for was to remove money as an obstacle to growth. Now, the disagreement that arose there was that you can remove money as an obstacle to growth, but in a way that damages economic value add. You can increase your debt structure. You can enter into bad Series B and another series of funding relationships that removes money as an obstacle to growth, but it doesn't really help your economic value add. So that was a conflict there between the CEO and the CFO, not an active conflict, but a misalignment that caused them problems down the line. And they weren't understanding where those problems, those disagreements, those misalignments, those conflicts were coming from. I'll pick one more here, and without picking on the CEO this time, let's look at business development and what they thought they were supplying to finance. They believed that what they were supposed to supply to finance were a demand and revenue plan, so that the finance could plan. That's understandable. But what finance needed from business development were profitable contracts. and this goes back to that thing about us spending too much time with certain quality of channel partners that didn't have the IT capability to create the kind of solutions we needed, and we ended up investing more money to get those solutions libraries built up than we needed to, than we could afford to do. So there are several of those conflicts throughout here. I'm going to stop there. Let me just point out what we were able to then come to as the agreed upon realignment. Now, I'm going to show you that here for the CEO, what we agreed the CEO's real role was. Let me back up and show you what it was back here. CEO believed their role was to proliferate technology via a sustainable business ecosystem. So they were busy doing that. And what the group agreed was needed was that they needed to become the intelligent web-based information gathering process agent. And the reason that was important, if you go back to that systems map we looked at earlier, was that ensuring adoption at the outset by becoming the intelligent web-based information gathering process agent meant that you were going to put people in a position where the switching costs were so high that you'd be able to retain the stickiness of your customers would be quite high. So if the CEO switched his intention to that, then it served the enterprise overall. I'll show you another one here on this. The business development evolved into maximizing strategic partnerships. What BizDev had thought their goal was to be the agent responsible for viral adoption. That's a little broad and not really crystal clear. When you talk about maximizing strategic partnerships, that gets much clearer, particularly when you see it in the context of those channel partnerships and those solutions libraries and those kinds of things. I'll give you one more here in the marketing world. Marketing had originally thought that they were supposed to identify and prioritize market opportunities and build differentiation. That's how they named it. Well, the group decided that what you really need to do is get the platform adopted. We'll just cut through everything. Get that platform adopted. And we were also able to resolve some of the conflicts here between product development needing a stable promise and the desire then that the CEO knew that they were supposed to supply a deliverable promise when they were out talking to potential customers. I'm going to stop there. So what did we learn from this? Well, three big things. The first one was, and I don't particularly care how you do it. I think systems thinking is a good way to do it. But get your head around your engine, whatever that engine is that makes that beast of your organization grow and go. Get your head around that thing and be sure you've got it done in a way that's really clear and shareable so that we can all agree and get aligned around a shared view of reality. Secondly, get rigorous about your expectations. And when I say get rigorous about your expectations, actually enter into some form of a written agreement where you're both looking at the same set of words, you're all looking at the same set of words, and you're agreeing that between you and I, we agree this is what we're up to in our value exchange in this network that we've got going. And the rest of the group knows that this is the exchange going on, so they can weigh in on whether that serves the enterprise as a whole or not. And then from there, identify your key levers. I showed you that leverage analysis. Couple that along with what you learned in looking at your different stakeholder alignment internally and understanding how your engine runs. Identify your key levers, act on these key levers, and then actually come up with some metrics to track those. And we did that in this case, but that's a whole other story. So that's it for now. If you're listening to this anywhere other than scottspann.com, please head over there. Give me a like, unlike it, but let me know what you didn't like. Leave a comment. Let me know what your own complex problem is. If you're finding this useful, please subscribe. I've got other stuff coming. And in the meantime, I hope this finds you thriving wherever you are. Take good care. Bye-bye.